gentlemen. Welcome to the May 19th, 2011 meeting of the Fayetteville Telecommunication Board. And the first order of business is to check the roll. Let's see, this is May meeting. Mr. Cusnelly, he's not here, or maybe he's delayed. Mr. Davis?
I'm present.
Mr. Leader? And I believe he said he's not going to be here. Okay.
I haven't heard specifically. I did get an email auto response that said he was out of town earlier in the week, so okay. I don't know if he's...
Mr. Pennington?
Here.
And Shepherd's here. And Mr. Spencer?
Here.
And we were afraid you'd miss.
No, I'm here.
You've been out of town for yourself, right?
Actually, I had to have oral surgery, so I was actually here this weekend.
Well,
Yeah.
it'd be better to be out of town. Okay.
It would be better, let me tell you.
First item on the list here is to approve the April meeting minutes. Please skim over it if you haven't had a chance to read the whole thing and see if you have anything you wish to change, find incorrect or inadequate. And Ms. Shelley, did you check it? Are you represented well on there? Okay.
Move that the minutes be approved.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. And next we will hear the Television Center Manager's Report. Well, first we have to adopt tonight's agenda, excuse me.
I think it's.
I always want to skip that.
We talked about nominations of the new vice chair for the committee board. I didn't see that on here. Oh.
No, it's not. But we also said we were going to hope to have everybody here who's actually on the board.
Yeah.
I think we should go ahead and move forward with the nominations on that.
Okay, do you want to make a nomination?
I nominate Blake.
Are there any other nominations?
I would nominate Mr. Pennington as well.
So that sounds like you've got a pretty good chance, Blake. Let's see if there are any other nominations. Absolutely not, Blake. You don't want to nominate anybody. Okay.
He doesn't have the choice.
good.
Everyone will decline it.
All in favor of Mr. Pennington?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it, so Mr. Pennington is elected. And
I believe there was a late request after the agenda was sent out to add an item to it, and I can either include it in the Television Center report, or we can add it as a separate item, which is the status of the education channel agreement with Fayetteville Public Schools. If you would want to add that somewhere in the agenda, I can report on that for you as well.
okay, that's actually old business. Would you like to do that after the public access report?
Whenever you gentlemen would like to discuss that.
Fine with
Yeah,
everybody?
that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So it will be number 5 on the agenda. And I believe I was the one that asked for it. That was after you had sent that typed version out. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. So, would you like to go forward then with your...
Do you want to approve the
I would
agenda?
Move that the agenda be approved as amended.
All in,
I second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now, would you like to report, Mr. Geisler?
I'd be more than happy to.
Start.
Thank you, sir. Television Center, we're moving things along down there. We move day to day. Everything seems to be working fairly smoothly. We're trying to make some improvements in the facility. Every day we try to find something that we can improve from a customer service standpoint. And one of the first things that we look at is how the building is being presented to the public, and we're always looking for a little bit that we can do here, a little bit we can do there. We've gotten some comments about what we might be able to do for the lobby, and we're going to take some of those comments to heart about doing some spruce up there. We have some plans to showcase some of the recent awards that the government channel has been afforded, and some of the things that we've had in the past that we want to showcase those, and so that's in process. And then hopefully, be able to highlight some things with public access and then the service in general. Well, the other thing we're working on right now with the facility from a customer service standpoint is we're working on some functions to be able to record things better in the studio. We have, as I've talked about in the past, technology as it moves forward. Ever since the dawn of television time, just about, things were recorded on videotape. Even in the digital era, we're still recording on videotape to a certain extent. But the whole industry is moving past that and going to non-tape, and so we're having to try to transition through that. And one of the things we're doing in this control room is setting up right now. We're looking at what we have to do to set up to where we can record things directly to a digital file. We have a lot of public access users that come in there and they record their shows in the studio, and then do some editing on them sometimes, and then have them ready for playback later. And so we want to give them the opportunity to do that, and also for playback of things and make it easier for people. So we're working to move that totally to the digital realm and get off of tape or recording to a DVD. It'll increase the quality and make things simpler and easier for everyone, and be more, as I always say, more reliable. This is what we like to do. So those are a couple of things that we're working on at the television center itself. The building maintenance division came today and cleaned out all the gutters, and we actually had some trees that were resting on the roof. They cleaned up the roof and stuff on the exterior of the building. So that was a good move. And in the fall, we'll be doing some minor renovations of the interior to change some space around a little bit. We're looking forward to next month having a tour by the city council. The city council sets up a tour every other week, that the council itself goes on a tour of different facilities of the city or different things that are important. So we're going to get to have a tour next month by the city council, so we're looking forward to that.
Do you know what the date is for that?
I should be able to look it up here pretty quick.
Or we can talk about it later.
Okay, I'll get that date to you. I believe it's going to be, I think, the 14th or the 28th, but I'll confirm that with you. And it'll be in the afternoon, late afternoon. So we're looking forward to that. And then in terms of situations, what's going on with the government channel, we're working on some new graphic elements for the channel identification and channel the look of the channel. Right now, our emblem looks kind of like a film strip, and it says the government channel on it, and it's been pretty good. But we've worked on some ideas that we want to that will work more in line with how we've updated and upgraded the Fayetteville Public Access Television presentation, and what can work in well with that. Also work in several different media, whether it's on television or on a big sign on the front of the building or in print or something like that. So we're working on that. We should have that done by the time we meet again. And I would be glad to, and I'll be really excited to show you some of the things we're doing with that. And I'm hoping that within the next couple of months we'll have new signage on the front of the building that will help residents as well. The other thing that I want to share with you about the government channel that we're real proud of is we were awarded for some of our programming. We were awarded some state awards the Old State House Museum in Little Rock, which is operated by the Arkansas Department of Heritage, conducted a competition, what they call digital shorts, for video and audio that were distributed over the internet. And we submitted 3 of our History Minute programs that we produce. We produced that whole series of 1-minute programs on Fayetteville history. The History Minute for Archibald Yell won first place, and the History Minute for Richard Covey, who's Fayetteville's astronaut, won second place. And the one we're really excited about is that the fan favorite was the History Minute that we did on Old Main. And the fan favorite was actually voted on by people that went out to YouTube, the YouTube channel where all of the contestants' pieces were posted, and it got the most likes on the YouTube channel. So we felt really good about that. The judging panel, we were not told who the judging panel was, but we were told that they were professionals in the industry, people that were historians, video production professionals from AETN and other broadcast facilities. So the pieces were judged not only on their technical merit and their video production merit, but also on their historical accuracy and how it was presented. So we felt really good about that. We got some certificates, and we'll have those framed and put those up there on the wall as well. That's all I have for the Government Channel Television Center. Any questions that have come up? There's some other issues that we'll be discussing later in the meeting, but.
Anybody have a question?
No, that sounds great.
Anybody, any comment, question from the public?
Y'all are doing a heck of a job down there.
Thanks.
Thank you. Great job.
Okay, then Ms. Shelley, please. Come. We should have another chair up closer. Bring her
We could do that.
over a little more so she's
Yeah.
sort of facing the public.
First, I offer my apologies up front. I've been battling laryngitis all day, so this is about the best my voice has been. I've been resting it, so bear with me talking more quietly than I like to. I think in your packet you have my report for the month. Again, I just, it's an honor to be here to represent what's happening at Fayetteville Public Access Television. Every month this year, it seems like we've been able to improve over the past years and resolve some of the issues that have been challenges. If you had a chance to read your report, this past April, or this past month on which I'm reporting, I'm so excited to say how we have finally, it seems, resolved a long-standing data discrepancy issue on the reports that Facile, which is the database we use for all of the scheduling and to track the producers and the equipment, everything, versus what was actually telecast. And when I inherited this job, there seemed to be ongoing issues with that. And with Fritz's help, I thanked him in my report. I want to do that publicly. We were able to find a way, through his expertise and my great staff, who knows more about these things than I do, to capture what is actually being telecast. And I sit here before you, and my first time in my tenure, fully confident that the data you have on programs telecast is real, true, and reliable. So that's yet another longstanding issue that we've been able to work in partnership with Fritz and his team to resolve, so that moving forward we will have good numbers, and that's only a win-win not only for you as an oversight body, but also for our producers. It's important to me that we're really giving true reports of the great things that they're doing and the shows that are being telecast on public access. So that's a highlight I want to say up front. And again, thank everyone, my staff and Fritz, for their work to make that happen. And we hope to continue to be every month reporting things that are new and exciting, and the jobs that we're doing better for Fayetteville and the residents that we serve.
I would like to expand on that just a little bit. I was looking through some archives, things earlier today, and these issues with the reporting of what programs were actually telecast and how many and who they come from and things like that, that's been an issue for at least the last 7 years. So I was looking at, I went back in the dates on some of these things. We were back in 2003, 2004, when these discussions were continuing of, well, are these numbers accurate, and who did it actually come from, and who's going to do the numbers. And we have the technology now for the machines that we use that actually, that's automation that actually plays the programming. It tells us what it played, the date, the time, and what the title was. So it's there, and it's really good. And they're doing a great job of pulling that data and creating this report.
That's true.
The other thing that I know that we touched on at the last report that we're now, literally this Saturday, launching is our outreach blitz. That was really our next phase of, we got the classes together, we have the offerings, now we've got to reach the public with what we do there. And we'll have our first public booth at the Block Street Block Party this Saturday. We're really trying to do as many of our efforts to focus on those folks who really will use public access, and those, of course, are Fayetteville residents. So we see that as a really great targeted event. We'll be at the Farmers Market on the 28th. With not only the new logo, new brochures, which I'd like to pass around. We're working to get these fully in color. There's been a few printing glitches, but you're the first to see the official new Fayetteville Public Access Television brochure. This will, once we have received all of the copies, will be placed in as many locations throughout the city, such as the Senior Center and other places, in addition to doing more of these outreach events that we'll be involved in on Saturday. I want to thank Fritz and Lindsley for giving good feedback on those, and again, my staff for their hard work to provide all the information for it. We try to get everything you would want to know about public access television that would make you excited about coming and using all this free equipment and take these free classes in this publication. So, in addition to that, we're working, and when Lindsley's back in town, we'll be meeting with her. We want to try to use that trust fund, if those of you who might remember in the contract, any income that we get from selling blank media DVDs, doing dub orders, which Aubrey's one of our regular dub order customers, goes into a trust account that is earmarked for use in public access television. So just to, in my opinion, keep all the accounting clean, that we're not spending money for our organization that was made by Public Access for Fayetteville. And it is my hope that we can get the City Council to agree to let us use that funding to fund inserts that we're going to do, which is a one-page, very similar to what you have in front of you, that we'd like to insert in late summer into all the water bills in the city of Fayetteville. So talk about a targeted audience there. I think Fritz did the research. Some 37,000 pieces of mail go out. If you get the 1% return that direct mail usually gets us, that'd be about 360 or 370 people walking into the door, learning about public access and doing something with it. So that'll be sort of the culmination of our efforts and outreach at the end of the summer. Next Tuesday, I'm taping the Mayor's Corner with Mayor Jordan, which will be his show, in which we will talk about public access television. We're also starting to do outreach to local media. We'll have PSAs sent to the networks and the cable companies by the end of this month. So we really are fully engaged, starting this weekend, with launching our outreach plans, and excited about that. I think, again, I'm not sure of your preference. Do you want me to go through the entire report with you, or would you rather just read the highlights and me state a few?
Well, maybe the board members want to ask questions related to parts of it rather than ask for to read it all.
I like the reports you've given in the past, but if you're
I've read through
those
it.
issues.
I think just for meeting purposes, since the meeting's being televised,
Right.
if you want to go through the
Some of the highlights,
just
sure.
so that it's.
I love to talk about what we do, but
Yeah.
May I-
okay.
Do you have extra copies?
Yeah, you can have mine.
Well, I was
Okay.
going to share it with got a couple of guys out there. that
Great.
might want to see this.
I think one of the things I also want to highlight that we did since April, which was kind of when I reported the end of the first quarter, is our Director of Education, J.R. Curtis, went pretty painstakingly through and did what I thought was a very full and informed assessment of the class schedule now that it's up and running fully, and tweaked it to create a schedule that we think is more user-friendly, makes more sense in a lot of ways after going through the whole first 3 months, and one that we wanted to get settled so that when we did start this outreach, that we knew the classes were set, the schedules were up, we were ready to go. And I think a couple of the highlights I showed in there, one of the main things is that he has made, the studio tracked is 2 nights in a row, just like accelerated producer training used to be. The model that he had thought would be great, that we all thought would work really great, was to have a 2-week period in between the first studio class and the second, in which participants would come together and they'd create a show and then they'd tape it. Well, getting people who don't know each other that well to come back and do that kind of a project together. And then you also had some knowledge atrophy that might happen in those 2 weeks. We're erring more towards let's get them trained, let's have the second night a real hands-on night. We hope to eventually incorporate maybe a show that features nonprofits that they could practice their skills on, and then do ongoing work with them once they are certified in studio. So that's just an example of the kinds of things he looked at and reworked the schedule for classes moving forward for the rest of the year that we think is going to be more user-friendly as we bring all these new exciting users in based on our outreach. I think Fritz spent a great time at the last meeting talking about the international students that came through. One of the things I do want to highlight, because that was in April, was that we had a new approach. We created a great show, which is just an interview show for them. But from their comments, which were pretty incredible, we made sure to ask them about what they thought about this public access phenomenon that's very unique to Fayetteville. And some of their comments were pretty incredible about freedom of speech and what a gem we have here. So that'll be one of the things we use in crafting one of the PSAs we want to have to highlight I think the more people find out about public access in Fayetteville specifically, I want it to become something that everyone in Fayetteville is very proud of. And I think hearing me sitting there and hearing these people from across the world talking about, my gosh, I can't imagine my government doing this or having this where I live, it was a pretty moving moment, and we hope to kind of continue that relationship with them, not only to have their students have a great time, but to help us. Sometimes it's easier to see what we have right in front of us through someone else's eyes. So just a couple of things on our organization outside of public access. Our office flooded. We've now moved upstairs and really have been working hard to get our new office on Suite 3 at Center and Church up and going. But we weren't alone in that crisis by any means. Just the board committees and task forces doing a great job of working to build this organization to be strong and sustainable. And I do want to lift up in front of everyone, and I do believe I speak on behalf of the board and the staff in thanking Roger Henry. His term on the board ended. He's going to stay on as a community member of our finance and fundraising task force, but he served the board for a really long time. And as a longtime public access user, I wanted to be sure and thank him publicly for his service.
So you want to tell us how many board members?
We have 11 board members.
And Roger's leaving, so you'll have an opening.
We have 10. Yeah, we do have an opening, and
10 board members.
That's correct. Yeah. And our next meeting is next Wednesday at 6:15. Location to be determined since our old office flooded. So we had our last meeting at the library, and probably will continue that. But I think we were interested. We're going to keep an eye on the trends because this is a new year where we're offering this many classes and doing so many things new. We did see, interestingly enough, no one participated in the accelerated producer training, which had been our most popular class from December through March. So we're not sure what that means, but we are keeping an eye on all those kinds of things.
Somebody sign up for it today.
We did have someone sign up for today. That's correct. Speaking of trends, if I could jump back to the beginning, I don't know what they're putting in the water or the water bills in Ward 4, but again, Ward 4 continues to be the most represent the most users, participants in Fayetteville Public Access Television. And I was talking to Fritz at our meeting last week, and my hope is that by the end of this year I can find someone in maybe the School of Business, and we have people on our board who are teachers there, who would want to do a statistical analysis of what it is in certain wards and the demographics and why they are interested in using public access television. I think that would only serve us in moving forward. But again, it's just a very interesting trend that we're keeping an eye on and hoping to turn it into some usable information. I want to also publicly thank Jim Goodlander. He gave a great workshop last month that was attended by 4 producers, a very interactive session, and announced that this Saturday is our we're in May, aren't we? Is our May workshop, and Catherine Schultz will be doing a workshop on the legal rights for producers. It'd be great if any of you, it's free, 11 o'clock. Want to come and learn about legal issues behind public access and the rights that producers who produce their own shows might have, or legal issues that they might be facing. So again, we're working to provide really good workshops moving forward, and that would be one of them.
That's in the studio.
That's at the Fayetteville Television Center in the classroom.
And will a producer be recording that to share with the public?
We haven't been recording any of the workshops, and I'm not sure. Do you have an opinion on that?
Anyway.
That's true. That's true. I know we recorded one that Catherine had planned on doing the first month and was unable to do. I think that's a great idea. We would need to just check with the presenters if that's something they're comfortable with. And there's more programming for public access television, too.
What time is that?
It's at 11 o'clock, 11 to 2, on Saturday at the Television Center. We prefer that you pre-register just so she knows how many folks to plan for. But again, it's all free, so. This month, we had our first outside producers, which is great. We hope to really bring more people who are making their own programming, bringing it to the public access station so that we can telecast it. My hope is that we can whittle away at that repeat programming and increase the number of new programs, both outside and local programs, and we're on our way to doing that. And it also feels important to me to say out loud that Victor Parkerson, who's a new producer who took the classes and started in this month, my staff just said that to me again, how impressed they've been with how much he's already utilizing the facility, and we hope that he's the kind of student that will continue to come. We certainly want people who are very active and excited about making their own television, and he's been one of them. And that seems to be a trend that we're looking towards. More short takers, which we're really glad. That's another thing we need to work hard on in getting people into the facility, another free service. We have decided that at the block party this Saturday, we probably will be filming short takes just so people can stop right there and do 5 minutes that will be televised and maybe get them excited of coming into the studio and doing it more. That's all weather permitting, of course, because we don't want to have those cameras out there if the weather is pouring down rain. But
Now, is the block party this Saturday or is it this Sunday?
Sunday, I kept
Sunday.
saying Saturday, didn't I?
I caught
Thank
Saturday
you
a
for
couple of
catching
times,
that.
but I just want to make sure that we
Next
clarify.
Saturday, we'll be at the farmer's market this Sunday.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yes,
just
is the
clarifying.
Block Street party. Thank you for saying that.
And just for those who may be confused, if you know the geography, the Block Street Party is on Block Avenue.
Yes.
So
Downtown.
the organizers say they do that on
Right.
purpose because people call it that anyway.
Yeah.
And
They call it Block Street.
it was intentional.
We are already seeing an increase in the use of the editing bays, and I was talking to JR and Heather prior to coming over here, and they said there are people in the editing bays almost all the time now. So we think that's going to translate into more programming in the coming month, and that does seem to be a trend we're going to see. So it's going to be more important than ever as we bring more people into the facility taking classes that we continue to monitor the equipment use so that we can make sure we have enough equipment to fit the needs, but also know when that equipment may need maintenance or any kind of replacement. No formal complaints this month, I'm happy to report. And programming, some of the things that we're seeing, besides being able to give you good data, we had a couple of great events. One of the things we love as the staff of public access is when producers of public access tape and telecast events. We had Fru Gallagher did a great event with the farmers market opening. Katja did a great event with Banjos Not Bombs. So we really want to encourage producers. I know a lot of folks love to make their own shows in their own creative process, and that's absolutely awesome as well. And we also love it when we see local Fayetteville events being captured and telecast by people who enjoy them. So, yeah.
Maybe this isn't the time, but I would like to say that it's important that people realize that when they produce a show for either a short take or produce a show to go on community or Fayetteville Public Access channel, that's their property, and they can use it on YouTube or any other way they want to take it to a meeting and present it or something, share it. So it's not just about TV, and Public Access Television is broadcasting whatever's on the air at a given moment is also on the internet, live, right?
That's correct. It still is at this point, yes. Mm-hmm.
Is there a question about that?
We're looking at our ability in the future to finance that. So
It should be very cheap. I don't know, how much are we spending on it?
$343 a month, I believe.
Do we have any way to know the traffic that's?
That's what we're looking into now. We're going to gather all that. I say that we're gathering all the data, looking at all the aspects of it this month, with full report to you all next month. I spoke just to Fritz about this on Friday. One of my hopes is that we could find a sponsor for that, because I think it's
That
an
would be
incredible.
Nice.
But again, we're in the process of collecting all the data to make that
Do you think
to assess what we do moving forward.
it's as significant to have it streaming live? Is that as important as still being able to archive the footage and make it available through a service such as YouTube or an alternative to that? Is it what's the benefit to it being live versus having the archives available online, I guess is my question.
Well, I think, and again, we're in the process of doing a full assessment, so I just off the cuff. Of course, there's always the coolness factor, that you can tell your friends who live everywhere that they could watch your show that's being on television, telecast on television in Fayetteville, so your friends from everywhere could tune in online and watch it. And I think it does make it more accessible, to everyone, from Northwest Arkansas, even in Fayetteville, who may not have cable television. So it is more accessible. That is, I'm sure, the reason it was done to begin with, and why it's important. I think it's a great service. It's just, is it being utilized, and is it cost effective for us? So.
Gotcha.
One of the things, excuse me, one of the things that I can speak to on that just a little bit, and this also speaks to what Chairman Shepherd just said a minute ago about the producers own their programming. Now they, as part of, in return for what they get for producing, for the city providing them with the equipment and all of that, is that they give the city non-exclusive distribution rights for telecasting it on the channel. And we also have the capability of using it in other areas. But there would be a question as to if we're talking about archiving or distributing it over a different medium, YouTube or something else, we'd have to look at that in terms of how that would work in with those distribution rights. The other thing is, when we're talking about cost factor, it does, right now we're streaming, the signal is streamed through Granicus, which is actually the same service that the city of Fayetteville uses. But if the channel itself, the channel operation, and your media as a contractor takes on the activity or the burden of ensuring that every program that's produced is, for example, let's say we did it on YouTube, there would have to be several steps in addition to it would have to be encoded in the right format. Sure. It would have to be uploaded, so that would have to be looked at as well, and that would probably actually cost more as an overall financial burden than what the streaming is doing now.
In labor, it certainly would, because it's time consuming.
But one of the things that they do, and one of the things that your media does as part of the educational process, when they talk to producers, and they are actually looking at providing some classes and Jim Goodlander did a workshop on this, is talking to them about all the different kinds of ways of distributing your programming. So they can take the idea, it doesn't cost anything for a producer to create a YouTube channel, and then that's their channel, and they can upload their video to do that. And, like Mr. Shepherd said, and I think that it would be more appropriate for us to be encouraging producers to use that as a distribution method for themselves than possibly taking it on.
Sure.
But what's the cost difference for government channel and access channel, public access channel, on the archiving and the live broadcast of what's going on the station?
Well, that's hard to talk. That's hard to speak to because the public access channel only streams the channel as it's being telecast. We take the same telecast signal that we're sending to Cox Communications and to AT&T Universe, and we send it into another encoder that sends it through the Granicus system and out as a live internet stream. While we do that for the government channel, because we also bundle that with the meeting archive services and the video on demand, they don't break that out as a line item cost. So I can't tell you exactly it's costing the same to stream on the government channel as it is for public access. That's bundled in with that whole service that we get from them.
You know these prices, these amounts. So what all access channel has right now is the streaming as it's broadcast.
Right.
And they do not have the archiving, and they do not have the whatever else we were just talking about.
The video on demand.
So what's the overall cost difference between the two right now?
I can't give you that number right now. I don't have it off the top of my head. I can tell you that the contract that the city signed with Granicus is several years back, and they locked in a price 3 or 4 years ago. So now Granicus is offering different services, but one thing that Granicus is focused on, this is why the city uses them as a service for the archiving and the video on demand, is Granicus has focused their services on government. And so essentially the city has unlimited access to, I say unlimited, it's almost unlimited, but we do 30 meetings a month, and we get to archive every one of those and have them available for video on demand. They do limit our non-meeting video on demand service, so we're limited to only less than 100 hours. So we have to always be watching what we're putting out there that's not meeting. So that's why you'll see a year's worth of telecommunication board meetings out there, but you won't see things like a certain promotional, the C-130 visited Fayetteville Airport. You'll see that out there for a while, but then it'll drop off and it'll go away. So there's those issues to deal with.
But anticipate a full assessment by the next meeting, because that's certainly something we're looking into. I guess I'd like to close. I really took to heart your message last time to not only focus on the positive, but look at the challenges. And I would say our big challenge now is our outreach efforts, catching up with our need to produce numbers for the contract. April was great. Already in May, so far, class participation has been a bit slow. Because this particular quarter that we're in requires by contract more candidate producers than the last, we're really working to bridge that gap. But right now it's not an issue, but if we don't do something soon, it could end up being. One of the things we looked at, and for those who know me, I always like to look at win-win and how can we be strategic when we're facing a challenge like that. One of our board members, Peggy James, teaches at the high school, Fayetteville High School, in the broadcast and television production. So we have scheduled with her it's either going to be the 27th of May or June 4th, that we'll be going to her classes and talking about public access television. If you look at potential users, you have young people who are already being trained every day on how to use the kind of equipment that public access has. they're about to end their school year, so they'll have a couple of months with no access to that kind of equipment or a way to continue their focus. So we're going to work with educating them about public access. Our hope is to, if we can, figure out a way to bring them actually to the station for their classes. We're going to try, but I don't know if that's going to work. But one of the cool things is, as we do with anyone who already is trained in this, you can test out of classes and become a candidate producer. Fritz's daughter did that. She's one of Peggy's students. So we're also looking at a potential student pool that we could engage and have them go through without having to take all of the classes, but just to show us that they can use the equipment and test out of it. And then we're also reaching young people who are energetic and excited to produce television. And so we really think that's one of the ways we're looking at solving that. But it's a win-win not only for us, of course, but for the public access station, because we're reaching users who are excited already about it. And it's a win for those students who may decide to participate in it because they'd be able to continue their work and their education, their self-education throughout the summer months. So I think that's about it that I have to report, unless you have any questions.
Thank you so much. You're doing really, really great work, and thanks for the very detailed report. What's the number of hours that it takes to become a producer?
Depends on which track you go. Of course, candidate producers are what we're looking at, but typically about 6, 2-3-hour chunks of classes. I'm sorry, you got to add 7 if you do orientation. So 7, typically, for most of the tracks. And then some of our classes really are designed to help people ongoing that have already taken like production planning, or we do every month a Final Cut Pro refresher course if you need just to kind of relearn some of the editing skills. So we're also trying to do classes that are geared towards producers who are already class graduates. Any other questions?
I think so. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, I really would like to challenge the 3 of you to join Aubrey and coming down and doing a short take sometime. He's a regular. Yeah. We'd love to see you down at the television center. So maybe at the block party on Sunday.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, we decided,
Oh, block party Sunday, what time? It's 1 to dark.
1 to dark?
Yeah.
1 p.m. till dark Sunday, and that is, what date?
Let me look it up because I'd hate to be wrong on that again.
22nd.
You got a calendar? Okay. 22nd.
22nd,
Yes, sir.
and let's see,
Next Sunday.
This Sunday.
this will be broadcast before Sunday.
Yes, this will be telecast tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We said we would look at the inserted item. Mr. Geisler.
The agreement between the City of Fayetteville and the Fayetteville School District for the operation of the education access channel. In our last meeting, you said that you expressed your support of the draft agreement, provided there were no substantive changes, and it was going to City Council. It has gone to City Council. It was approved Tuesday night on the consent agenda. So it has been approved. It's in place now. There were no substantive changes. If you compare the two, you can access a copy of this by looking at the minutes of the last City Council meeting that are on accessfayetteville.org. The things that I would point out to you is you'll see, instead of, in the draft, it was Fayetteville Public Schools, or FPS. Both attorneys agreed that it would be better to just use the term Fayetteville School District, since that's who the agreement is actually with, is the school district. And they get, particularly specific about these things, and it's understandable. We want everybody to feel comfortable in it to be a solid document. So it was changed from FPS to Fayetteville School District. One of the other changes was that the city is only going to ask for an annual report from the school district as to just the performance of what they've done. But that certainly does not preclude the Telecommunications Board, expressing a desire to have someone from the public school come to the Telecommunications Board. It's just not required in the agreement. The other thing, the last thing that I'll point out to you is that the term is essentially we wanted to get it, and both sides agreed and both sides expressed a desire to get it done by June because of the fiscal year for the school district and those considerations, and now they'll have this in place to move forward into their next school year, and it will automatically renew unless there is something on either side that is an issue and that's brought up. So those are the things that if you look at the two, there might be some other minor wording changes, but as far as I can tell, and all the city administrative staff, the chief of staff Don Marr, Lindsley Smith, director of communication, and myself, we discussed the changes that they wanted to be. We all agreed that, well, these aren't really substantive changes. I mean, it's not like we're saying you have to do something completely different. So that's the status of the agreement.
Great.
Okay, any member of the public want more information about the city's contract with the public school system?
It should go to the school board at their next meeting and be approved by them at that time.
And their meetings are televised on channel 214.
No, their meetings are on 217.
217.
Yes.
As we discussed during the last meeting, we believe the school board, though, was happy with the agreement, though, correct? That was,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, everything seemed to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the version that was presented to the city council and that was passed by the city council had already been signed by both Susan Heil, who's president of the school board, and Jim Halsell, who's the secretary of the school board.
Perfect.
So they had already signed it before it went to our city council.
Great. Thanks, Fritz.
All right, thank you. Reports on complaints.
Ms. Shelley already said that they had not received any formal complaints in the last month. I recently received a complaint from a resident of Fayetteville regarding some billing practices of Cox Communication. He and I first spoke on May 2nd, but he didn't request to file a formal complaint until last week, which was within 10 days of this meeting. So I told him that I would initiate a formal complaint process, but it wouldn't be able to be heard at this meeting. But we would go forward and I would present information to you through our process and be able to, and I sent him a letter today describing all of that. We have had conversations. He has had conversations with Cox Communications. I have as well. I'm still investigating, but we want to be able to. I want to be able to in this next month present you with the information, and then that'll give you an opportunity to see it, and then consider it at your next board meeting and determine what action you might want to take at that time. And also, he would have an opportunity then, as I told him, to come to the board and present any other information or statement that he wants to make regarding that, and in the June meeting.
Do you mind sharing the essence of the complaint?
He doesn't agree with some of the billing that he said there's some charges on his bill that are not correct.
And this is it a residential customer or
Yes, sir.
business?
Yeah.
Without digging in too deep here, the charges that he's talking about, are these like taxes and fees type things, or this is actually like what he's paying for programming?
What he's paid for programming,
Okay.
and he has had some conversations with them regarding some of the things. I haven't, obviously, Cox Communications cannot share his specific billing information with me.
Sure.
That would be a violation of the law. He could. I told him that I can't. I told him that, I can't get it from Cox, but if he wanted to, he could share it with me, and he has not yet. Other than him saying, well, they had some charges on my bill. I've been going back and forth with them. I've paid them. They still say I owe them money, and so that's the essence of the complaint.
Gotcha.
Is he has been making some payments. He said that they say that he still owes them some money. So I'm going to try to get as much detail together as I can for everyone. And
Hard to make an analysis when you don't have much information.
it is. But what I'm also going to hope to do is get at least some kind of a statement from Cox Communications as to what their position is on his complaint within the parameters that they can share.
Sure.
So they won't be out of that, and then pass that all on to the board here.
So
for
you first
next-
made a complaint on the second. How many times have you talked to him since?
I've talked to him twice.
Hopefully we can get it resolved, but whatever information you can provide, we'll do what we can do.
Yep, and I really hope, actually, his name is Gary Ricks, and he lives here in Fayetteville, and I hope Mr. Ricks will take advantage of the process and come speak to the board next month. And I will remind him, I will try to contact him as we're getting close, the week before the meeting, and remind him that the meeting will be coming up and that there'll be a consideration of his complaint.
Is that the only complaint you've had?
That's the only complaint I've had.
Okay.
We've had some suggestions. One of the things that we've done, that Ms. Shelley did, is put a suggestion box in the lobby of the television center and to ask for suggestions, and we've received, as I said before, we received 2 or 3. One of them, a couple of them had to do with, what can we do to make the lobby more welcoming and more friendly, so we're working on that.
Perfect.
I think a lot of us would like to see the old posters and things that were in there, and old articles from the newspaper, the glory days.
And we have some
Access.
proclamations from the state legislature and from the mayor and such that had been done in the past. We're going to get those back up on the walls and some things like that.
Well, that's good.
Speaking of complaints, what about June 6th for a meeting of the Complaint Policy Subcommittee? It seems Monday's better for most people
Who's on
during
that
lunch.
committee?
I believe Mr. Davis, Mr. Later, and myself. And you, if you want to be.
I'm okay. I've got my own.
Do you want to do that during the day? Or
Yeah, I was thinking a lunchtime deal.
there's a mayor's town hall meeting scheduled for that evening. So
Okay.
just, that's why I asked if you want to do it
Okay.
during the day or if you wanted to do it in the evening.
Russ?
Day would work better for me. I'm looking at the calendar right now. I think the 6th, I don't see any issue with that. No, I think that's good for me. Do you want to, we'll send out an email to make sure that's okay with
Brandon?
Brandon, yeah.
Okay. Monday, it's almost always been Monday for him that he's been available.
I'll put it
So,
tentatively.
Okay. Can we shoot for noon on Monday?
Okay.
Whatever room is available, either this one or
Okay.
111.
111? And as for that, there's also there are some meeting rooms available in the public library as well that
Okay.
might be available. We could avail of if we can't find one here.
Okay. We'll make sure Mr. Bemis knows about it.
Yep.
Okay.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Could we just also see in the report just a metric on the number of comment cards and the number of complaints each month? Just so we can see the trend. I like how you put in your report the previous couple of months, just so we can see overall. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from committee business? Nobody's wanted to hold an internet committee meeting yet?
I'm not on that one.
No, that was it Brandon?
I think,
I think we put Brandon and Michael on that one. I know
think
I
that
put
was
Michael
right.
on it. We volunteered him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
Send an email out.
No, I do not have a report from the internet committee.
okay,
Hopefully we can talk about what it's about though.
okay. If there's nothing else from the board at this moment, let's open the floor for comments from attendees, and your comments can be on any item that we discussed. I'm afraid I haven't asked for your comments consistently throughout the meeting, but this is the time when
Aubrey?
you always have time. Yes, sir.
Item number 7.
What is it?
We skipped
We
that
can
one.
go ahead with 8 and
I
come
thought
back
we
to
were-
7.
Okay, well, let's see if the
Comments?
public wants to comment. This normally is in between or after each item, in case anybody does. Anything discussed so far? All right, let's get back then to, we'll give you another chance later. The information requested by member Michael Spitzer. Please.
I received an email from Michael Spencer, the board member, asking for some information regarding several telecom board related issues and where things are. And so I pulled together some information. I haven't been able to get all of it yet, but we can start out with some of this. What I would start with, the contracts that fall under, one of the questions was, what are all the contracts that fall under the purview of the telecom board as defined in the ordinance? The ordinance specifically states that, I'm not going to quote the ordinance, but it's in there. The ordinance specifically states that if one of the access channels, if the city contracts with an outside provider to manage or operate one of the access channels, then the telecom board is responsible for the contract compliance. Now, there's two. There's the contract with Your Media for public access television, and then there's the agreement with Fayetteville School District for the operation of the education channel. So that falls within the purview of this board to, and it specifically says in the code to ensure contract compliance. How this board wants to go about doing that is up to this board. Renewal dates and terms on those contracts, well, we just entered into the agreement with the Fayetteville School District for that one, and I told you about the term and the renewal on that. It's an automatic renewal. There is no compensation on that either way. They're not paying the city anything for the use of the channel. The city's not paying them anything for doing the work. That's not the case with public access. The public access contract is renewed on a yearly basis. It is reviewed on a yearly basis by the administration. We look at the how the provider is meeting the criteria of the contract. Are they meeting the deliverables that are listed? Ms. Shelley and I have a meeting every week that we look at different things in terms of the operation, and then once a quarter we look at numbers and the deliverables and where those are. She's given you reports that are accurate in terms of the fact that there have been a couple of things where they haven't quite met a deliverable here and there, but there have been issues. Weather's been an issue, things like that. So, the city's not saying, getting all wound up about the fact that, well, we missed a workshop in March. Okay, that happens. There's not any serious issues at this time with that, but that contract will expire and be up for renewal at the end of this year. And the goal will be to have that contract done and through City Council by the end of November. And the reason for that is that gives everybody an opportunity to get all the paperwork done to ensure that there's a continuity of payment. Because it's certainly not fair, and it has happened in the past, where that contract process got drug out so long that while the budget was approved, the contract wasn't approved well into February, and the public access operator was at that time saying, what can we do? We're not getting paid. So we don't ever want that to happen. If we're going to renew a contract with them, we need to make sure it's done on a timely basis. So that one will be up, and our goal will be to have it done and approved, whatever changes we do, done and approved by the end of November through City Council. So we'll probably want to start looking at that. The board will probably want to start looking at that in September, middle to late September. If the board has any issues or the board has any input, the administration will certainly welcome anything that you bring on the front end. And then, of course, if we make any changes to the contract, it will be brought to the board for your review so you can make whatever advice or provide whatever advice to the City Council as you feel is appropriate when the contract goes to the City Council for consideration. So those are the two contracts. Now, the other two agreements that we have that do fall within the purview of the Telecom Board for oversight, or in other words, keep an eye on it and report to the City Council your advice as to what direction they may want to take, is the franchise agreement with Cox Communications And the agreement that we have with AT&T for their use of the city rights-of-way for their UVerse service. The agreement, the franchise agreement with AT&T is due for renewal at the end of 2011. It is currently being looked at and is currently, the administration is right now looking at it to see if there's anything that the administration feels should be changed or adjusted. I can get you a copy of that current one so you can look at it and the board can make whatever determination the board may want to make in terms of suggestions or changes or anything like that. If you would like to do that, pass any of that on to me. I'll certainly give it to the administration and see where we go from there with that.
On the note of franchise agreements, just real quickly, is there any update on the information on Windstream?
Have not gotten anything update on that.
Okay.
As far as I know, that's still on hold.
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
The franchise agreement with Cox Communications is a very, very old agreement. It was originally entered into with Warner Cable in 1989. And if you look at the history of the ordinances that went through, there were several ordinances that changed ownership and things like that. But the basic franchise agreement is still as it stood, and it's on a month-to-month basis now.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I've gone through and looked at that, and some of the stuff that they've provided as, you know, when we looked at the option of changing that contract, we're in such good shape with that right now that we're better off leaving it as is. Am I, in your opinion?
Well, not only in my opinion, but in the opinion of the city council.
Right. And looking at some of those changes, I think that we're best off where we are on that as of right now. Now we can always look at that, but you know, I
Right.
think that right now we're in pretty decent shape there.
Now, I was going to share with the rest of the board. Several months ago, there was a request. It was probably over a year ago now, but there was a request. The board requested that the city council look at the possibility of renegotiating the franchise agreement with Cox. And the city attorney expressed exactly the same opinion that you just did, which was where we are from a negotiation standpoint. It's not going to do the city any good to try, at this point in time, to try to renegotiate this. The city council concurred. So going forward with something in the next, trying to talk to the city council about it again.
12 months later, yeah.
They're-
Nothing major's changed that would cause a...
Yeah, the only significant difference between then and now is that they migrated the channels. They migrated the access channels from the lower analog channels to the digital channels, and that's gone through smoothly. And we have not gotten any other comments. Last month I said that we hadn't received any other further comments regarding that, and I haven't gotten any in the past 30 days either. So now those are the contracts and the franchise agreements that are there. The current state of where the city council, the expectations of the city council and administration is, I'm still working on that. There is a broad purview, as you said in your email. The telecommunications board has a wide range of things that I think they're expected to look at and provide insight to the city council and the administration. We're talking about everything from wireless internet, broadband access for the citizens, to statewide franchising issues, to broadband internet access on a wired basis. Are there going to be other telecommunications providers in the city? Several things that have to do with telecommunications infrastructure. So I will work with the mayor and the chief of staff to be able to describe to you what their expectations are in terms of the breadth of your purview and what it is that they would hope to see as using the telecom board as a resource, and be able to communicate that to you, so things can be, more focused as to where you might want them to be.
So you think that'll be on the agenda next month?
I hope I will make that my goal.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions about that, sir?
Just, no, I think, let me review the information that you provided, and then I can talk to you, and then we can go from there. Next up, if there are questions off the top of my head.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir, please.
All right. My name is Mike
Why
Erie.
don't you come to the microphone over closer to us if you would?
I'll be very brief.
Aubrey wants to make sure everyone can see you.
My name is Mike Eric, and I live in South Fayetteville, pretty close to where you live.
You live over in Ward 4?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, are you aware that my analog televisions, both of them, cannot reach this channel to watch this proceeding? I'm on Cox Cable, and I have been since before there was a Cox Cable. And Warner, I believe, was what it was. Anyway, the digital revolution has left me behind. Anyway, for what it's worth, I pay the same money. Everything's about the same, but yes, I cannot get your channel. I cannot get this channel. Well, I love you dearly. I'll not see you on TV. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Well, have you, do you have the new box?
I have the new box.
Does it not give you the
It
200?
excludes those channels from the digital part of the box.
And the box was provided by, did you have a box provided by Cox?
Yes.
Fritz, is this something that you're aware of? Is this something that we're, is this a known issue? Is this something that you're aware of?
I was not aware of this, no.
To your knowledge, should he be able to receive those channels?
If you got a digital converter box, did you get that under the promotion when the channels were changed?
No. You did, I think. But I didn't.
Okay.
I got mine just recently.
Okay.
And the digital channels are just beautiful. The old channels are all beautiful. But there's no access to this channel or your channel.
Have you tried entering 216 in directly on your channel selector?
You can do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
if
you
just
hit 216.
on the remote.
216, no.
Yeah.
I haven't.
That I would try that when you get home tonight. If that doesn't work, I would call them immediately and say, I can't. These are free channels. You should, if you have a digital converter box, you should be able to receive those
It
channels.
would be most helpful if they would send a channel listing
Mm-hmm.
to where I could see where things are. Anyway, I'll not trouble you anymore.
Well,
No trouble at all, sir.
let me say, you reminded me that my daughter actually told me she wasn't getting,
So can you receive it?
and she's got the, pardon?
Can you receive it? You live in the same area?
No, I'm saying that what's occurred with he's got a box, and my daughter has one, and she has not been getting those stations recently too. So it may be something on their system that's not letting it get through right now. So you should persist in contacting the
Has
people
Cox
about it.
made you aware of any issues that would prevent them from broadcasting?
No.
Would they?
Yes.
Thank you.
They've always been good about letting me know if there was something coming up that was going to have an impact. So we would be able to answer questions of people if they came and like Mike here. Would you be so kind as to give me your name and phone number and I can get you some information?
Sure.
You just want to write that down there? Then I'll get back in contact with you.
Did you contact Cox regarding the issue?
Sounds like he's got more to say. Okay, well, as I said, I had forgotten, but just what you described.
Thank you,
is
sir.
What my daughter.
Where does
Yeah.
she live?
She lives.
Have you ever
2
tried to
blocks down
contact
south.
Cox?
Yes, sir, I have.
Did you ever contact him?
Um,
Were you ever successful in getting
I
through?
was successful after an hour and a half last week, I will say.
Yeah.
Persistence.
Therefore is another complaint. So far as I know, the people that answer the phone, there are 2 for the United States of America. I don't know that you're any more than that, but I've talked to two of them. And the fellow's a pretty good guy, but the woman, she's not so friendly.
Well, I'll tell you what, I personally would be happy to see if I can walk you through it. So if you want to hang around a few minutes after the meeting, I'll exchange contact info. Because I would really be interested to see, because if it's an issue that's as Aubrey mentioned, it's, you know, his daughter's having an issue. If it's something that is a recurring problem, then obviously something we want to take a look at. If it's something that we can just kind of troubleshoot and get up and running, by all means, we want to make sure that you
I
can
just wanted to
get
make
all
the
your TV.
comment, I don't want to have any further difficulties with them. Anyway,
Thank you, Mr. Airy. We
Certainly.
certainly appreciate that.
thank you for listening
Thank
to
you,
me.
sir.
How does Cox proactively monitor? Do you know if they have proactive monitors to make sure that everything's on air?
Yeah, there are, but, you know, it could be, in this particular instance, several different issues. It could be an issue with the box itself. You know, we really don't know where the issue lies. It could be anywhere from where Cox is sending it out all the way to his home or anywhere in between. So we really, without doing anything, there's no way to really know, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I know there was a service interruption a couple of days ago, and there was some people that had said that, oh, this channel, not the government channel, but a channel was frozen, and then somebody else made a comment on Facebook that all the channels are frozen. And one of the things that I noticed that happened at my house was that one of my converter boxes, I had to actually reset it. It came up with strange things on the guide, and it wouldn't let me tune in a channel. I had to actually unplug the converter box completely and then plug it back in and let it reset itself, and everything. After that, everything was fine. So I don't know, that might have, like you said, it could be anywhere in that whole
Right,
process.
there's no way to know for certain, but it's something we definitely want to take a look at and see if we can get resolved.
Yeah.
Well, that's good advice, because we all who use computers remember many times we had to restart in the past, in the old days, when they weren't as good as they are now. And so that may be the solution. Any other comments or suggestions for June 16th meeting? Let's see, Mr. Spencer, you asked for a certain item on the agenda.
For the one I asked for tonight?
Uh-huh. For next time.
About his report from after he meets with the mayor and the chief of staff. He's going to be bringing us back a report.
On what subject?
That's going to be related to what they believe
The administration's expectations of the
of the
board.
Telecom board and the city council's expectations of the Telecom board.
Okay. Anything else?
I'll be scheduling internet subcommittee meeting this next month. Are there any clear expectations of the subcommittees?
Well, in this case, that's why we keep getting new chairmen for that committee. Younger people with more experience directly with the internet, because those are the people who have been able to bring forth the new uses that and new techniques and the new technology that some of us wouldn't have experience with.
When that subcommittee was formed, it wasn't due to any particular issue necessarily. It was just simply trying to form the subcommittee so that they could explore that aspect of the board, correct? And what information it could provide to the board. Is that correct? Is there anything specific that you can think of, Mr. Shepherd, that a reason to meet? Is there a reason for a subcommittee to meet specifically regarding an internet subcommittee, or Mr. Geisler, anything that you can think of?
Certainly, one of our goals was to get Wi-Fi downtown, and there was a time that committee was talking about, and the administration was also talking about possibility of having other areas, or even experimental wide area of free internet access. But also in previous meetings, it had been discussed that we utilize some of the Skype and some of these things that I don't personally use or know about in getting information out to other people or in holding meetings that would be available to the public through that process.
Sure.
And try to meet the Freedom of Information Act on what our actions are.
Something else that might be interested in exploring too is when particular projects come up or grant opportunities or things similar to when Google looked at doing, you know, a full city with new high-speed internet throughout. Is that something that Fayetteville would qualify for? Is that something that we could leverage? You know, are there opportunities out there for the city to expand on the data side, the information internet type side? So that might be something to just kind of explore. I don't think it's necessarily a subcommittee formed specifically for a particular issue or complaint, but just what can we do to expand on the board? And that's something I'd be happy to join you with as well.
Find us something interesting.
Yeah, sure. I think actually
I'll put it simply.
Yeah, let's spice things up a little
let's
bit.
wait till, I'm going to wait to hold a meeting till after the June meeting and to hear the report, basically the city council's expectations and the administration's expectations.
I think that's probably fair.
But any of these issues right now, I think that can be brought up in
We like-
the committee, the Wi-Fi things, and any of these can be explored in here. I don't, until I see a reason really to hold the meetings, I'd rather hold off on those for now.
That's your option.
Now, on the formal complaint process, we want to add that to the agenda for June.
I'll just put it under committee reports.
Yep, that'll work.
Yeah.
Anything else?
When will we be ready to do it? Next month? Will we finalize the formal complaint process next month?
I hope so. Hopefully we can get something for y'all to look at after our June 6th subcommittee meeting.
Everyone's been out and people have been traveling, and I think with the weather and everything else, hopefully things will calm down enough. We can nail down a date, make sure Brandon's on board, and we'll hopefully get that knocked out, and we can review it come June.
I'd like to have something for the full board to look at and consider June 16th.
Sounds perfect.
Something that everybody's happy with, including Mr. Bemis.
Okay. Any other business? We will adjourn at your pleasure.
Second that.
We're adjourned.